The year is 1798. Napoleon is on campaign in Egypt, where a strange red entity materializes before him. This red spectre, or Napoleon's little red man, said that he had advised the rulers of France in the past, and that now he had come to give counsel to Napoleon. The red spectre claims that he had been by Napoleon's side since he was a boy, claiming that I know you better than you know yourself. You're subscribing or checking out our Patreon to support us. General Jean Rapp, the close aide and confidant to Napoleon Bonaparte, enters his emperor's quarters to see the emperor staring out of a window, completely still and seemingly unaware. General Rapp approaches, making himself known through the noise of his boots. Rapp pushes aside a chair in an attempt for the emperor's attention, but he looked on, as if haunted stiff to stone. General Rapp feels an arm reach out and take his own, and Napoleon asks him a simple question. Do you see the red star of destiny? Napoleon Bonaparte was many things to many people. A great leader, an evil tyrant, a quote-unquote little man with a big ego. And I quote this because while he would possibly be considered short for the modern day, he was not in his time. This idea primarily came from his tall elite guards that surrounded him, or his nickname at one time, the Little Corporal, which was actually intended as a term of affection or endearment from his soldiers. And of course, the English artist, painting him as a child throwing a tantrum. To the very few who knew him personally, he was supposedly superstitious. There is some debate on how superstitious Napoleon was, but being a Corsican, he grew up on fantastical tales, with incantations being chanted to him as a child. He supposedly carried good luck charms in his adult life. Supposedly there was a little black satin heart that he kept between his flannel waistcoat and his shirt, as well as the scarab that he supposedly found in a pharaoh's tomb in Egypt within his waistcoat pocket. There was, however, the Sphinx that he had crafted for his wife, Josephine. Napoleon would observe the night sky for signs of prophecy and omens. So with that said, it is no surprise that the Red Spectre, or Petit Homme Rouge, the Little Red Man, decided to pay Emperor Napoleon several fateful visits throughout his life. He was simply next in a line of a succession of doomed royalty. The Red Spectre first appeared to Catherine de' Medici around 1564 during the construction of the Tuileries. She described it as gnome-like and dressed entirely in red. She believed it to be an omen of bad luck. At the time, Catherine was stirring tension between the Roman Catholics and Protestants in France, which culminated into the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. Henry IV of France also reported seeing the Red Spectre before his assassination in 1610. Servants and chambermaids of Louis XVI witnessed the Red Spectre in 1792, as the doomed king attempted to escape revolutionaries. Marie Antoinette also claimed to have seen the Red Spectre in the Tuileries Palace corridor one day before the palace was stormed. Jail guards also claimed to have seen the Red Spectre in the prison where Louis and Marie Antoinette were held before their execution in 1793. Napoleon's first audience with the Little Red Man was during his campaign in Egypt in 1798. He was told that his efforts on the battlefield of Europe would result in victory for the next decade, as well as forewarning him of the French fleet disobeying his orders and losing him the campaign in Egypt. The Red Spectre also spoke of the First Coalition turning against him. Napoleon did win many battles and efforts throughout Europe, as the Red Spectre had predicted. The Red Spectre returned when Napoleon was in Austria after the Battle of Wagram, which took place on July 5th and 6th in 1809. The two-day struggle between the Fifth Coalition against Napoleon's forces was won. The Little Red Man warned Napoleon not to conduct his planned Russian campaign and cautioned him that his victory days were soon to be over unless he tried to negotiate peace in Europe. Perhaps Napoleon should have heeded this advice. Using his already immense power and dominance over the continent, he could have controlled the tables of diplomacy. The Little Red Man, or the Red Spectre's final appearance, came in 1814, a year and a half after Napoleon's retreat into the Russian winter, when the defeated emperor was secluding himself in his study after losing the Battle of Leipzig in October 1813. The Red Spectre appeared to the Counselor of State, Count Molé, and demanded to see the emperor. Molé initially declined his audience, but after Napoleon heard of the Little Red Man's presence, he summoned him in. The Red Spectre's last settlement with the Emperor was this: achieve a general peace in 3 months, or the end. In a desperate attempt to buy time for himself, he launched a new Eastern campaign. This was all in vain, as the Allied armies marched into Paris on the 31st of March, 1814. In April of the same year, 3 months after the Little Red Man's final visit to Napoleon, the Emperor was forced to abdicate and was exiled to the island of Elba. He did escape, and asserted himself once more into power, but he was ultimately defeated by Wellington's armies at the Battle of Waterloo on the 18th of June, 1815. He was exiled to St. Helena, a remote island in the middle of the Atlantic, and remained there until his death in 1821. And so too, it seems, did the Red Spectre. As it turns out, he was never seen or heard of again, at least in the circles of the French ruling classes. So what was the Red Spectre? Some have suggested that the Red Spectre may have been a psychological phenomenon, possibly a form of mass hysteria brought on by the stress and trauma of war. Others have suggested that the Red Spectre may have been a demonic entity sent to torment Napoleon and his army, or to test their resolve and determination. Another theory states that the Red Spectre was a product of local folklore and beliefs, possibly inspired by Egyptian legends or other supernatural entities. In any case, the legend of the Red Spectre has continued to fascinate and captivate people throughout history, from its appearances during the Napoleonic Wars to its references in various works of literature, such as Edgar Allan Poe's The Mask of the Red Death. Was the Red Spectre a product of human imagination or manifestation of supernatural forces, or something else entirely? If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so on Patreon. You'll get stickers, merch, credit, special access to our Discord server, and you can even become a producer of the channel. Special thanks to everyone who checks out anything that Midrealm does. I appreciate it.